So basically what it is, today I'm going to talk about how corporates can really kind of partner with startup ecosystem. So if you look at today retail, I think since morning we have been talking about this. Retail is transforming, retail is changing, and there is so much of innovation happening in this space. So there are two types of transformations that are happening, right? The factors. The first is the consumer-driven transformation. The second one is the technology-driven transformation. So what today's consumers are saying in the new retail is that, hey, we would like to work with brands. We would like to kind of engage more with the brands. And second thing is that they are asking, saying that, hey, we want better experience when we work with, either buy online or offline, right? So how do we kind of, in the retail transformation, how can we kind of come up with the new products, new solutions, and the new technologies that are happening? How do we really incorporate them in the scalable model? That is where we need to really look at both internally and also look at the external ecosystem. The things are so transformative right now that you cannot really look at only internally and work in silos, but you really need to expand your horizon and look at the broader ecosystem. I think that's the main topic that I would like to kind of really focus today. And before I go into the details, I would like to kind of talk a little bit about the Target Accelerator program. So the innovation is actually part of the Target's culture. And with that intention, what we have done is that few years back, we started this Target Accelerator program. In the Accelerator program, what we do is that we invite startups to work with us, co-create with us, and we give them a platform to kind of innovate and produce new solutions and new products. And the Target Accelerator program, we have been successfully running for a few years now, and we graduated 36 startups through our 6th cohort program. Welcome. So normally, typically, if you look at the success rate of startups, typically they say that 90% of the startups fail or 85% of the startups fail. But we have an amazing success rate at Target Accelerator since we do a due diligence in selection and other things like that. 1 in 3 of our startups actually go beyond the graduation program, and they become either vendors or serve the broader retail industry, which is basically, we are very proud of that statistic to say that 1 in 3 startups who graduate from us will go into this, beyond the scope of the program. So, when you say retail accelerator, normally the thing that you think of is that, hey, are they working only on the retail store-specific technologies? But we actually work with a broader set of technologies, including solving use cases for finance, marketing, supply chain, in-store operations, and other things like that. So I'll show you a little bit of video about our accelerator program, which gives an overview of what we do, and then I will get into the details of what are the best practices to work with startups. as you can see that, we run this accelerator program successfully. So, but in order for a corporate to really start working with a startup, it's not easy because the cultures are different, the priorities are different, and again, working model of a large organization versus a working model of a startup is a lot different. So how do you make this successful? I think that is where we are going to really, focus on the best practices that we have actually developed over a few years. So first is that, I'm going to kind of put this best practices in 4 buckets. The first one is that you need to really have a vision for your accelerator program. What do you want to do with your accelerator program, or how do you want to work with your startups? So the second one is, how do you source startups? The third bucket that I would like to talk about is, how do you execute the accelerator program or working with the startup model? And the fourth one is that to focus on how do you engage with the startups after they graduate from this program. The first step is that you need to have like a real good vision defining your purpose. So there are many models of working with startups. Some companies actually say that I'm going to work with startups because I want to evaluate certain newer technologies like blockchain or whatever. The second set of companies can say that, hey, look, I'm going to work with startups to kind of solve a use case. That's another model to look at. And some corporates say that, hey, I'm doing this as a venture arm. I'm going to kind of, invest in these companies, and this is more for a, increasing the multiples of the investment that they are going to make. And some corporates can say that, hey, look, I'm going to do this because of the social, I want to give back to the society and other things like that. So because, depending upon what is your purpose, you really need to define the working model. So having clear picture of what your purpose of the engaging with the startup should be very clear, and that's how you will actually recruit the talent to manage the startups. The second step, or the second bucket you need to look at it, is sourcing. So it is not easy to kind of really search for the startups and identify them in the broader ecosystem context. So how do you do that? First, when you are in a retail, if you are focusing on retail vertical, don't really look for only retail startups. That will be very difficult. So you need to have a broader vision, and you need to go with saying that which are the horizontal technologies, who are the startups that are there actually adding value to different verticals, and then have a discussions with them to see how their horizontal technology or how the use case that they are really working on can be used to the retail industry. That way you can actually have a much broader context. And whether you are actually engaging with a consulting company, or if you are doing directly, make sure that you are actually directly working with the startup, understand their technology, understand the culture, and make sure that how they fit into your broader organization. So that way you need to be really in the driver's seat of selection. Don't outsource the selection process to some third party. Even if you're working with them, you need to be in the driver's seat to do the final selection, right? Then the most important thing is that you need to involve your business leaders, because ultimately the use case and the technology usage will impact the business users in a very positive way, and they need to be part of the whole selection process. So that way, when you select the startups, I think the most important part of the thing, once you select the startups that are relevant to your culture, relevant to the use case, then half of the battle is won, right? Then we will get into the third bucket, which is the execution bucket. In the execution bucket, you need to really think about it, is that there are different models of working with startups. One is a cohort model. The cohort model, basically, if you know all the use cases that you already have identified, and then it is like a kind of a classroom session. You start on one particular day and end on a particular day, and then you already know the fixed use cases that you are going to work on. That's when the cohort model will work well. However, if you are in a more dynamic business and say, I would like to engage a startup as and when I have a use case, then you need to go with an ongoing model. And companies like us actually try both because we have a fixed set of use cases, as well as dynamic use cases will come now and then. So then other thing is that you need to really think about it. There is nothing called free POCs, because you are a large corporate and the startup is actually working on it. So you need to kind of really focus on paying for the pilot so that there is a meaningful POC that is generated. So don't look for a free POCs, but really look for, have a budget for making a paid pilot. Then and in the execution, one of the most important thing is that as the business leaders are getting engaged and they are working with the startups, you please recognize them for their efforts, because in the long-term sustainability, you need your business leaders working with you and co-innovating along with the startups. So it's important to kind of recognize them and reward them and be part of this program. That's the most important thing. And the last but not least, you need to provide a platform for the startups on the demo day. Invite your VC community, invite your business partners, invite your stakeholders, and make sure that the startups get a platform so that their work can be recognized by the broader ecosystem. Right. And the last bucket that we want to connect is the journey actually will not stop on the demo day. The journey actually starts on the demo day. So you need to continuously work with the graduates from your startups, and they can come back to you on working with the new use cases, or they can be your references, and they actually can also be mentors for the future startups. So basically, at a summary, what I'm saying is that you need to really focus on what's the purpose of the accelerator program, or why you want to work with the startups. You need to have a clear vision. Second thing is you need to have a sourcing strategy. Third, you need to have an execution strategy. And fourth is that to make sure that you continuously have a working model to engage with them in the long term. That's how I think the corporates can really work with the startup ecosystem. And with the spirit of commitment of Target's commitment to the startup ecosystem and the continuous innovation, we are actually opening our applications for our cohort 7, which are online right now. So you can actually check out them from our website. With this, I will conclude my presentation and wait for your questions. Thank you.